microphone 2, please.
You talked about your faith earlier, and I was wondering how your faith and your family growing up has influenced how you raise your children.
It's really had a big influence. I have 5 wonderful children, and I knock on wood, I hope that's wood, but I get maybe almost more than any question, I get questions similar to that because my children have done well. You know Ivanka, she was a great girl. She's a great person. But Ivanka and Don and Eric, and my kids my 3 oldest children have done well. They've gone into business and they're solid, and they haven't been in trouble and all the things. And more than any other question I get from people is, how did you raise your kids? Because you read so many horror stories about children. And one of them was through the church, very important. We have a church where I grew up, First Presbyterian Church in Queens, in Jamaica, Queens. And that was where I grew up, and that's where I went to church. I'd go to Sunday school, I'd go to Bible class, I did all the things that a lot of the folks in this room did. But it was a very important element. Church was a very important element as far as growing the kids. And the other important element was I would, from the time they're 2 years old, say, no drugs, no alcohol, I used to drive them crazy. No drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. I'd say, no drugs, no. And Ivanka, I remember her looking at me once, Frank, said, Daddy, you're driving me crazy. The kid was like 4 years old. She didn't even know what drugs are. But I would constantly, because I've seen so many children grow up and they get under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and their parents are brilliant people, they're successful people, the kid is brilliant, they have no chance. They have no chance. Once they're under the influence of the drugs and the alcohol, life is too tough, they're not going to make it. So I was very strong with my children, no drugs, no alcohol, and I threw in cigarettes.
Did you used to have dinner with your kids most nights?
Yes. So I would have dinner with my kids almost always, and I'm always available to my children. I could be in the middle of the biggest, most important deal. For instance, if Ivanka called me right now and say, bye-bye, Frank, you're a wonderful guy. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'd say, wait 10 minutes. But I was always available to my children. And frankly, I said it, I was actually a great father. I was a better father than I was a husband. And the reason is I was a worker. And I had, you mentioned the relationships, and they were very good women, but I was always working. I was creating jobs, I was building jobs, I was doing everything, and legitimate stuff. I was working, and it was very hard for a woman, and I blame myself, I don't blame anybody else, but it was a work thing, it wasn't a bad thing, and it was very hard for anybody to compete against the work, and that was not good. I have learned that.
So then what advice do you have, because very few people, no one in this room will be able to live in your shoes, when you try to prioritize your career or your family, what's the best way to get that right?
It's a great question. The thing that I've learned, I know all of the very successful people in the world. I mean, most of them. I know, they buy apartments from me. I sold an apartment recently for $55 million to a Chinese person. Then they say, I don't like China. I love China. I just don't like the fact that the Chinese leaders are so much smarter than our leaders and they rip us off all over the place. But, by the way, Frank, same with Mexico. Love Mexico, respect Mexico, love the Mexican people. Thousands of them work for me. They're incredible. Great spirit. I just don't like that the Mexican leaders are ripping off our country because they're smarter and more cunning than our leaders and our negotiators. Between the trade and the border, they're killing us. So it's one of those. But
your press conferences would take forever.
No, I'm trying to get out the points, Frank.
So career and family, how do you balance?
I was going to say, I found that the happiest people, let's get down to the happiest people, are the people that have good families. I know the richest people in the world. I know the toughest people in the world. I know these people, they're brutal. You wouldn't like them, and they probably wouldn't like you very much. These are brutal people. Great negotiators, great business people, but not nice people. They're not the happiest people. They're very rich. They're very smart. I would use them to negotiate against Japan. I would get one of them being, you're here, you're here, you're here, like checkers, like chess. But I will tell you, they're not the happiest people. The happiest people I see are the people that have great families. It's, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know. And just to take that a step further, and I tell this to people all the time, they say, how do I get rich, Mr. Trump? How do I get rich? And they have a good family. I tell them all the time, and I make this statement because I've seen it. Those people that have that great family, wife, husband, children, whatever it takes, those are the people that in my life I've seen that are the happiest people. A lot of the really successful people they always want more. They could have 2 billion, they want 6 billion. Then they want to get up into the 10 billion. They say, well, but they always want more. They're always striving. And in the end, they're not very happy people. So I don't know, it's a great thing. Religion is a very big factor too. I've seen people that have a great family and they have God and they have church and they love their church. I have friends that love to go to their church and help their church. They're happy people.
So again, you've gone into it. If I don't ask this question, this audience will be disappointed. Straight question. What is your relationship with God?
Well, I pray. I go to church. Do I do things that are wrong? I guess so. You know, I'm a business person. I really do well at business. I've done great. I've made some of the great deals. I own some of the greatest properties in the world.